Tote bag. For this project, we are starting with one 36 by 14 inch rectangle of durable fabric like denim and two straps that are 22 inches each. Step 1. Switch your machine to a zigzag stitch and stitch around all four edges of your fabric. This will keep your fabric from fraying on the inside of your project. Start and end with a backstitch and make sure you're keeping the edge of the fabric in the middle of your presser foot. Pro tip: to avoid having to start over on your stitches on each side, you can pivot your fabric. Do this by stitching to the end, leaving your needle down in the fabric, lifting up your presser foot, and turning the fabric. You can now lower the foot and continue stitching to the next edge. Step 2. Once you've finished zigzagging, fold the fabric in half, right sides together, and pin along the edges. Make sure you pin through both layers of fabric, making the pins go through each side 2 times. Keep your pins perpendicular to the edge that you are sewing. Step 3. Switch your machine back to a straight stitch. Next, stitch the pinned sides at the 5/8 seam allowance. This means that we want to keep the edge of the fabric lined up with the 5/8 seam allowance near the presser foot. We have placed black tape to help us see this. Make sure you keep your eye on the spot and keep your stitch line straight. Each time you come to a pin, stop, remove it, and then continue. Begin and end your seams with a backstitch. Next, we will press open our side seams. Step 4. Turn your bag right side out and flatten it the best that you can. Measure 2 inches in from the side seams and lay the edge of your straps next to the measuring tape of the ruler. The edge of the strap should match up with the edge of the fabric. Pin. Make sure the strap isn't twisted. When pinning the other strap to the other side of the bag, you can match it up with the first one you've pinned or measure again. Step 5. Remove the arm of your sewing machine so that you can wrap the bag around the arm. Stitch each strap down, lining up the fabric with the edge of your presser foot. Step 6. Turn the bag inside out again. Clip the corners of the bag by cutting triangles without going into the seam allowance, and make sure you don't cut over the stitch line. Clean up your bag by cutting your threads. You may also want to bust open your seams by rubbing your fingers on either side, or if you have a more durable fabric, you may need to press it. Step 7. Fold down the top of the bag so that the straps are now going up and out of the top. Use a sewing gauge to make sure that the top is folded down 2 inches all the way around the opening. It helps to start at the side seams, keeping the seams open the way that we did with the last step. Fold the seam open on itself. You can then pin the other side of the seam to keep your seam allowances in place. Step 8. We're almost done. Now we're going to stitch around the top edge of the bag, lining the folded edge of the right side with the presser foot. Begin at the side seam to hide your back stitches and be sure to sew over the handles to stitch them down. Sew around the entire top opening, ending with another back stitch. Then repeat this step. Except this time, you will line up the folded down edge with the left side of the presser foot. Step 9. Trim any excess threads and turn your bag back to the right side. And that's it, you're finished. If you want to add some fun to your bag, you might want to try some embellishments. My favorite are iron-on patches.